Welcome back to ACB Wrestling Talk, your main source for wrestling news and wrestling discussions. I'm, of course, your host, Alexis Carrillo, and let's get into some wrestling talk. This past Monday night, just last night, our suspicions were confirmed when Seth Rollins was revealed to be aligned with the Authors of Pain. In fact, it appears that Seth Rollins is the man to blame for the Authors of Pain beating down Kevin Owens just last week and 2 weeks ago. So, again, saw this coming miles away because Seth Rollins, like I've said before, ever since he faced the Fiend Bray Wyatt, he hasn't been the same, and the fans' reaction towards him hasn't been the same as well. So right now, him turning heel, him finally confirming that he is the bad guy, well, it makes for a much more interesting character, and it makes for much more entertaining television. As a matter of fact, this brand new heel persona for Seth Rollins might be even better than the heel persona we got when he was a part of the Authority, when he was just a pawn in the Authority's game. Yes, he was the world champion, but he was whiny, he was cowardly, he had J&J security to protect him. Now, hopefully, they take a different approach to this heel run for Seth Rollins, and they actually make him a mastermind character. He is, of course, the architect, and he now has the Authors of Pain. And, you know, with his promo of him blaming the fans, it seems that Seth Rollins has that undeniable quality that every villain in every single movie needs. And every villain that has this pretty much becomes a beloved villain. And that is the fact that the villain believes that he is doing what is right. The villain believes that he is doing the best thing possible. And I think Seth Rollins can communicate that very well. And if he has to beat some guys down along with his new cohorts, Authors of Pain, so be it. But Seth Rollins, let's see if his career can turn around after, fans have been turning on him for quite a while. Kevin Owens might benefit from this. He might become an even bigger babyface. Again, him being transferred from SmackDown to Raw didn't do him any favors, and especially since right after that he had to proclaim his undeniable loyalty to the Red brand for Survivor Series. So that hasn't done him any favors. And what also doesn't do him any favors is the fact that there's no world champion on Monday Night Raw as of this moment. So yeah, Kevin Owens can chase Seth Rollins and the Authors of Pain all he wants, but if the end goal is not present, the end goal being the WWE Champion Brock Lesnar, what are you going to do? And I wouldn't mind Owens versus Lesnar at WrestleMania for the WWE title. I wouldn't mind that. We also got the famous divorce segment, a segment that opened Raw, where Lana, delivering an Oscar-worthy performance, signed the papers and finally got the on-screen divorce she wanted, or at least that's what she thought, because Rusev signed the papers as well on one condition, that he got a match against her hot new boyfriend, Bobby Lashley, and that appears to be what he got, because this Sunday at TLC, Rusev will face off against the, what do they call him? The Unstoppable Bobby Lashley? I forgot his moniker. But it's going to be a tables match at TLC, and finally, after months and months of this crappy mess, this crappy love triangle between Rusev, Lana, and Lashley, we finally, this Sunday, get, hopefully, closure when Rusev beats Lashley. And, that might help Rusev get a big babyface reaction and become a top face for the Raw brand. Not only that, but we also got Becky Lynch defeating the Kabuki Warriors by DQ. Lynch, this was pretty much a repeat match of last week's Charlotte Flair performance, except in this case, It appeared the Kabuki Warriors couldn't handle Becky Lynch, so they resorted to the DQ. And then a few moments later, they challenged Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair to a tag team titles match at TLC. I'm unsure if it's just for the tag team titles or if it's also for Becky Lynch's Raw Women's Championship. But what I'm not unsure of is that match, that tag team bout, is going to be a tables, ladders, and chairs match. And if you know Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Asuka, and Kairi Sane, if you know what they can do in that ring, then we are expecting a showstopper for TLC this Sunday night. We also got Umberto Carillo finally getting a win, except his win played second fiddle to the big storyline coming out of that match. And the fact is that Umberto Carrillo did beat Andrade, but he beat him because there was some dissension and some miscommunication between Selena Vega and Andrade. So, again, Umberto Carrillo, happy for your win, but second fiddle to that storyline. And I just gotta ask WWE, please do not separate Selena Vega and Andrade. Don't do that. We've all heard Andrade's English. It's not the best. You can barely understand that. Okay? And I sympathize with Andrade. He's a Mexican luchador. I'm Mexican American. I speak Spanish very well. I speak English very well. I can fully understand his Spanish, but his English, not so much. It needs a lot of work. I honestly don't know where he's at right now. But again, if they're gonna take away Selena Vega from Andrade, I mean, that's his main heel magnet at this point. He's so damn good and so damn entertaining in that ring that if they were to take Selena Vega out of the equation, Andrade might become a babyface. And I'm not sure that's what WWE wants out of the Andrade character right now. For all we know, maybe they do separate and they bring in Charlotte to pair up with Andrade. Possible, although very unlikely. And we also got this idiotic Sami Zayn's managerial license to appear on both brands. Once again, WWE's brand split proves to be useless, ineffective, inefficient, and just a complete hoax. Yeah. I love Sami Zayn, and I love seeing him on both shows, but if you're gonna do a damn brand split, if you're gonna have a Raw roster and a SmackDown roster, keep them the fuck apart. Do that, try that, I don't know, for a year, 2 years, 3 years. Try it. Don't get fucking scared about the ratings going down. Idiots. Well, other than that happened. And Rey Mysterio retained his United States Championship against AJ Styles with a little bit of an assist from Randy Orton. So that bookends the Rey Mysterio and AJ Styles feud. And pretty much takes us into AJ Styles versus Randy Orton rivalry heading into the future. So that's what happened on Monday Night Raw this past night. Sorry about that. We've also got an explanation of why Kofi Kingston doesn't think he's gotten his rematch against Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship. Of course, WWE Creative hasn't done him any favors because his character has just regressed back to being a part of the New Day and a tag team champion and the fun Kofi Kingston that we all knew. Except that, you know, he main evented WrestleMania, he became WWE champion, he was a main event superstar, all of that and more. And WWE Creative, being the geniuses that they are, they've ignored it. Well, this is what Kofi Kingston had to say on Corey Graves' After the Bell podcast. And I quote, "It wasn't up to me, but I have said this on a few different interviews. It kind of is what it is. You show up to work and find out what you are doing and you kind of do it. So this is weird too. A lot of people will be on my social media and saying, Well, Kofi, you're out there and you're acting like you don't care. Did you forget that you were the world champion? I'm like, well, look, you are asking my on-screen character to be angry as if it's my real character. I think it's one of those things where it kind of is what it is. So again, with that statement, Kofi Kingston confirms my feelings as well. You know, Kofi Kingston can't go into business for himself. He has to betray the character that creative gives him to betray. That's what he is doing. He is doing his job. And if you ask me, he's doing a pretty damn good job of doing so, because if you look at the Kofi Kingston character ever since he lost the title, he doesn't care. He's tag team champion. He's a part of the New Day. That's what's important to the Kofi Kingston character. Kofi Kingston, the real man. I mean, I'm not sure what his real name is, but I'm sure that the real man, Kofi Kingston, the real guy on the real world, is pissed off. Very pissed off that he lost to Brock Lesnar in 8 seconds on the Fox premiere of SmackDown Live. Made him look like a jobber when he was a main event talent and a WWE champion. So, again, WWE creative at its best. Moving on to our third segment, Steve Austin. Of course, I'm talking about the legend, the icon, the WWE Hall of Famer, Stone Cold Steve Austin, feels that the in-ring work is regressing in today's professional wrestling. This, after what he stated on the Steve Austin show. This is what he had to say about the in-ring work being a little bit, regressive in today's world. And I quote, "There's a lot of demand for new people in the business, so sometimes they're not as honed up as they need to be. So you see a lot of holes out there. It's not an indictment on the system or anybody, because you still have your..." And this just... sorry, my computer just froze. Okay. There's a lot of demand for new people in the business, so sometimes they're not as honed up as they need to be. So you see a lot of holes out there. It's not an indictment on the system or anybody, because you still have your veterans out there doing a lot of solid work and people doing athletic things, and that's cool. But the work has regressed as things have sped up, just as far as being able to see through the illusion. When you're green, you think bumping is the ticket. I've got to bump a lot because that's what's going to elicit a response. Taking bumps is the ticket. That's the way to do it. The biggest mistakes that green guys make is doing things too fast. Maybe the second one would be taking too many bumps. Nobody goes out there and wants to give the bumps. They want to take them. And, because you're on the receiving end, you think, I'm impressing people by how I'm flying around. Bumps are great when they're needed. So right here, Stone Cold Steve Austin just mentioning that, yes, professional wrestling has sped up. Yes, everybody's performing their high-flying maneuvers. And everyone, and trust me, every one of those young guys is selling the shit out of the moves that are being handed over to them. But it is also true that you do need to go out there and tell a story. The way Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Undertaker said on the Broken Skull sessions on the WWE Network. Less is more. You need to give the audience more story, a more inside look of what's going on in that ring. And when you're moving so fast, the crowd can't really tell what's going on except, oh, that was cool. Wow, look at that. That was a hard hit. That was a really hard hit. That's pretty much the audience's reaction when you don't slow things up. And I'm just going off of what Stone Cold said. He is the professional. He has the experience. And that's why, for the most part, on this show, I don't talk about the actual wrestling moves or the wrestling maneuvers. I've never performed them. I've never trained to do that. So all I can say is, it was an entertaining match. They did what they had to do, and so and so. That's all I can say. Stone Cold, on the other hand, he's got what it takes. He's a legend. He's a 6-time WWE champion. So give the man his props. Moving on to our fourth segment. Jordynne Grace, the Impact superstar, the Impact Knockout, responded to Sandman's latest comments on women's wrestling, and she gave pretty much a much more detailed explanation on how Sandman's comments went down. So, and I quote, and this is all, this is Jordynne Grace's response on Busted Open Radio. And I quote, He did not just say it to Taya, and that was not the only thing he said. I did not go into the whole conversation on social media because it's a 10-minute back and forth thing that went on. It was me, Taya, and Tessa all standing around talking. The Sandman came up to Taya and asked what match she was in, and she said that she was in the last match. He responded, the main event? She said, yeah, the main event. He said, excuse me? We all just stared at him because we didn't know that he was joking or not, and he responded with, that is wrong, right? He looked at every one of us. Then he started talking about the women's WrestleMania match and how bad it was, and then Tessa, she's a little bit more outspoken. I was in shock, and she tried to start talking. He cut her off, stuck out his hand, and said, oh, I'm the Sandman, by the way. She responded with, oh, and I'm Tessa Blanchard. He responded with how he respects her family so much while continuing to shit on women's wrestling. They both go back and forth. Rosemary walks up and we tell her what the Sandman just said, and we're all standing there listening to him argue about women's wrestling with Tessa. He throws up his hands, walks away, and about 2 minutes later comes back and says, excuse me, ladies. I went around the locker room and told a bunch of people with over 200 years of wrestling experience, and all agree with me that women main eventing is wrong. Tessa Blanchard and he went back and forth a little bit more. She told him how disrespectful he was, and he clearly didn't care. He comes on and is lying through his teeth to save face now. We weren't just around, we were standing right in front of him in a line. I have zero reasons to lie about this and go on social media and basically shit on ECW legends, someone I used to watch on TV. So for him to say that I was in complete shock. I said to the Sandman, just watch the main event, so I feel like that was a more respectful way to say that. He didn't watch the main event, so that was why I decided to post what I did on social media. So that's what Jordynne Grace had to say on Busted Open Radio. She gave much more of an explanation on how it went down with the Sandman, with Jordynne Grace and Tessa Blanchard and Taya and Rosemary. And from all accounts and purposes, from Jordynne Grace's accounts, it does seem like the Sandman was being a giant dick about women's main eventing wrestling shows. And the fact is that times have changed, Sandman. If I'm not mistaken, you're exceptionally past your prime, 50 plus, maybe even 60 plus. I have no idea how old Sandman really is. But times change. Culture changes, and wrestling fans right now are more accepting of women main eventing WrestleMania. Like I've said in the past, if the story warrants it, and if the wrestling warrants it, the in-ring wrestling, the in-ring performance warrants it, then they should be main eventing shows. The main event should be given to those who earn it, either by storyline, either by character, or by in-ring performance, or all of them, or a combination of all of that. That's just a fact, and that's life. You have the old guard and you have the new guard coming in, and the old guard doesn't like the new guys taking over, and the new guys have different ways of looking at things. So the old guard is going to be You know, we don't do things that way. We do it this way. That's just how it's going to be. And I'm hopeful that I'm lucky enough to get to 40, 50, 60, 70, and be a part of that old guard. And, you know, eventually, just because, like I said, it's life, eventually I'll be that illogical and that irrational kind of human being. That's pretty much all I can say right now about the Sandman's response to all of this women's main eventing. But like I said, nothing much to it other than old guard versus new guard. And moving on to our last segment today is Tuesday night, which means Impact Wrestling on Access TV. And we continue the road to Hard to Kill in Dallas, Texas on January 12th, where Tessa Blanchard will challenge Sami Callihan for the Impact World Championship. And on this episode tonight, Tessa Blanchard and Sami Callihan have chosen each other's opponents. Tessa Blanchard will have to face OVE member Madman Fulton. I believe we've seen that before, and I believe Tessa Blanchard has handled that before pretty well. And Sami Callihan will face the most dangerous man alive that isn't the most dangerous man alive anymore, Ken Shamrock. So, all in all, should be 2 easy wins for both of the contenders and part of the main event at Hard to Kill. Hopefully, Sami Callihan gets an easier win over Ken Shamrock than Tessa over Madman Fulton. I just expect that. Apparently, I made a mistake, last week. RVD and Rhino do have a match tonight on Impact, and it's a old school rules match with Tommy Dreamer as referee. So, yeah, they do have a match. Sorry. RVD is going to have to get the win over Rhino, and I truly was expecting that they would save this for Hard to Kill. They might have other plans. Leave that to them. But I fully expect the brand new, interesting, and reborn entertaining RVD to get the win. We also got a tag team open to define the brand new #1 contenders to the tag team titles at the Hard to Kill pay-per-view. We've got Reno Scum, the Rascals, Willie Mack and Rich Swann, the members of OVE and this Hit Squad, among many others, to be a part of this tag team open. I expect Rich Swann and Willie Mack to become #1 contenders and become tag team champions. Hard to Kill. Someone does have to dethrone the North eventually. And finally, last week it was announced that Taya Valkyrie would defend her Knockouts Championship against Jordynne Grace. But not only that, Taya Valkyrie will also defend her Knocked Up Championship against ODB. But she'll defend her title against both opponents at the Hard to Kill pay-per-view. Not too shabby for Impact. After all, I was expecting Taya versus ODB to take place at Hard to Kill, and Jordynne Grace to take a backseat until the new year. That's not going to happen. We're going to have ourselves a triple threat at Hard to Kill. So what do you think about the Impact Wrestling preview? Will you be watching? Leave your thoughts, comments, and predictions on the comments section below. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you dislike this video, hit the dislike button. That's it for me. See you tomorrow.